Afro, but
the loud soca rhythm.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you, Mr. Aaron. I want to bring you back on for a more extended interview. So I really appreciate you calling in. Give us real quick where we can find you at on social media and all your information.
Okay, definitely. You can find me on Facebook at Aaron Adams. That's AARONADAMS. And you can find me on YouTube. We just started a channel a few days ago, Different and Dope. You can check it out. We'll be uploading a lot of music real soon, as well as my contact number personally. If anybody's looking to work with me or reach out, you can reach me directly at 618-802-5427. And I'm definitely looking forward to work with anybody that wants to work.
And feel free to continue to stay in contact with me whenever you have something new coming out. Send it to me, hit me up, and we'll always be willing to play your music and promote you and talk with you and whatever you may need artistry-wise. This definitely hit us up. So I really appreciate you calling in. And hurry up and catch that train, brother.
Definitely. I appreciate you all, and I appreciate you all time.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Welcome to the Nasha Harrison Show here on Be Exposed Radio. Thank you for joining us. We have a wonderful show tonight. We're talking to Tonda Wright, the author of A Fugacious Life, and we're going to get into that. But first, before we do, I'd just like to say hello to everybody in the studio joining me. Hello, Tru Black. How are you?
What's up?
Okay, good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I'm here.
So we're going to get into it. Last time we were on the show, we talked about what was to come. And once again, we're going to talk to Miss Tonda Wright. And the name of the book is My Son's Fugacious Life. Two murders, one conviction. So, hello, how are you? Welcome to the show.
How are you?
Thank you for coming. Was it an easy place to find for you?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
So, we want to start a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we really get into it.
Oh, well, I originally from Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
I went to high school in Richmond. I went to middle school in Richmond. I've been kind of back and forth between D.C. and Richmond, Virginia. I've been here now in the district area since probably the 90s.
Okay.
1993, 94, somewhere up in there. Started my career back then in nursing and branched from nursing down to the fire department. Been with DC Fire EMS department now for 15 years.
Okay, so you're still in that profession?
Still in that profession.
Okay.
Something, I enjoy doing is helping people. I think that's something gift I was giving. Because everyone don't have the tolerance of the patients or to deal with everyday patient care. So it's something that I got into at an early, I guess maybe 20-something years I've been into it because I was doing nursing prior to joining the fire department.
Okay. Well, before we get into the book, just to back up a little bit, talk about how we met. I had Lim on the show.
Yes.
The educated wino. And
the
we
one
were
that
talking.
gets you intoxicated.
Oh, absolutely. He's a wonderful brother. Those biker folk do. Us in the biker community, we love our drink, we love our smoke. But he's a wonderful brother.
Yes, he
is.
is.
And he told me about you. He told me about your book. He told me about your experience.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes people a while to get back to you. Like, hey, I'll get back to you on this.
Yes.
But he actually got back to me the next day, and that's who Lim is. When he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
Absolutely.
So he got back with me, and of course I saw your, book come in the mail, read it, loved it, and got in touch with you. So that's what brings us here today, thanks to Lim's follow-up. So tell us about the inspiration for the book.
The inspiration came as a mother, feeling that you as a parent, I should say, you feel that you have to do all that you should do and could do for your children. And I felt like it was a story that needed to be told, not only to help other parents, but to actually help me with my healing process of dealing with a tragedy of losing my son.
Let everybody know what actually happened, what circumstances brought you to the book.
2008, August the 14th, 2008, my son was murdered in District of Columbia. And DC Fire and EMS Department responded to assist with the emergency needs. Something went wrong, still fighting to try to figure out what. And he didn't get transported to the hospital. He got left there on the scene. I actually was working that day when I got the phone call that something happened.
Wow.
They didn't say what. They just said something happened and I needed to get there fast. I have two children. I have a 27-year-old daughter now. At that time, my son was 18. And I got the call, and as a mother, you just know some things just wasn't right. So when I got the call, I didn't immediately go there. But once I did get there to find out the situation, I tell you, it was one of the darkest days in my life, because a ride that normally takes 10 to 15 minutes from where I was located to get to took 40-something minutes
right.
to get there, because it seems like everything in the road was just a clear blockage.
Right.
Yeah. So it was one of those days where I wish it on no one.
Sure.
It's painful to know that you're a part of the EMS system. You were working that day, and you as a mother couldn't do what it took to save your child.
Wow. Yeah, I know in the
So-
book you talk about how everybody continued to try to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And you felt what you felt, but you were not in the position to hear the news that you knew was coming.
Yes.
And also in the book how when the police officers told you what happened, how they were expecting a different type of reaction.
Right.
You know, how your EMT
you were in
mode
shock.
just
Right.
kinda, right.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, it's just a state of shock with somebody to come and tell you 2 weeks before this happened, I had just took him to get his learner's permit.
Right.
So I guess I was in a state of shock for you to show me his learners that I just took him to get 2 weeks prior, and for you to say, is this your son? And, he's deceased,
Right.
Average person most people would say he's dead, but when you say deceased, you know what the term and what it meant. And to me, it was just one of those, I just had to stop. I couldn't say anything. And then she kept asking and repeating over, did you hear what I said? And, at that point, I'm pissed now, because I'm like, I'm here by myself. None of my family was here. Everybody, it was just me. And I had to take the news of someone walking up to your car telling you that your 18-year-old, your only son, didn't make it. She didn't say anything else about what happened, if he got hit by a car, if he got shot. She didn't say any of that. I didn't find that out till later on. She just said that he was deceased. So yeah, it was one of those where my attitude was pretty much like an out-of-body experience where, did she just say what she thought? I'm like, did she really just say that?
Just wasn't connected.
It just wasn't connecting. And I think what really hit home for me is when I got home and then the phone calls start coming in. And everybody knew what went on, and then the news and that just, because it was really like an out-of-body experience. I just was numb. I couldn't say anything. I just kept looking at her, and I rolled up the window on it, and it's just, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Now you mentioned prior to your son's death, you got sick,
Yes.
right?
It was maybe a week before he got killed. He got killed on a Thursday. And I was sick like the following week on a Tuesday. And honestly, it felt like that I was going through pregnancy all over again. That's just how I felt. And I talk a little bit about it in the book. I contacted a doctor, and I felt like I was sick. I was nauseous, back pain, abdominal pain. I was having all these feelings. And she laughed it off and thought that it was just, hey, it's possible you can be pregnant. I'm in my mid-40s. I know that's not true. But we laughed about it, and I never thought anything else about it. And then the following week, that happened, and I just tied all of it again, together, and just, it's one of those situations where when things happen at that time, you don't think about it. But then when the dots start to connecting at the end,
Right.
that's when
The foresight. Yeah.
Now, pronounce your son's name for us. Is it Jaquan?
Jonquan,
Jaquan. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he was 18 years old.
18.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming to talk your story because, of course, we're going to get more specific about it.
Yes.
We here all night with you. So thank you for joining us. And, yeah, we really want to get into this story. So I got a couple of questions for you,
Okay.
of course. And before we, go away and come back, what was one of the favorite things that your son loved to do? That's still, I'm
Still
sure a lot
registered
of things.
with me right now?
Right.
He was just a portrait reader. The poem that's actually in the book is something he wrote. I encourage both of my children, whenever you're going through something in life, whatever roads or bumps and roads you may have, write about it. If you feel that you can't talk to me about it, write about it and let's have a discussion about it. So poetry was something that, and he was at 18, young lady type
Ladies'
of man.
man.
Yeah, just where he write all kinds of poetry, and we have to get to the point like, hold on, this is supposed to be about what's going on in your personal life, not having a father or whatever the case may be. But he was just one of those kids that was just smart, intelligent, and he just liked to write. I still have poetry, books and tablets of poetry where he wrote, and eventually I would turn that into something. But right now, yeah. So that's something that I remember him most about, just writing however he feel and just coming up with these words where I don't have no idea where he got these words from, but I always encouraged him to read, and so that's what he did.
And so is that the inspiration for the title of my son's Fugacious Life?
Fugacious is a poem that he wrote.
Right.
And when he wrote the poem and how I ended up getting the poem, the lady that was his teacher at the time, she contacted me and told me that she thought it was a good poem that should go in his program for the services, for the funeral service. And I agreed, and I read it. I wasn't shocked because I knew the type of kid he was, and I knew that he was just one of those kids that you would give him one word, he's going to turn it into something else. So that was one of his poems that he actually wrote. So I felt like Fugacious, meaning life fading fast, is what Fugacious mean, and I felt like that should be an excellent title for the book.
What's interesting to me is that the teacher didn't actually know that Fugacious was actually a
Yeah,
word.
she didn't, and she said she had a master's degree, and she never even heard of the word. But he was one of those kids, and I talk about in the book, Baby Jesus or Curious George, because that's who he was. I mean, you tell him no, and he's going to prove you wrong that the answer is yes. So. Challenging was something he always did. He would challenge you, and if you said that he couldn't do it, he was going to do it. If you said he don't know it, he's going to prove it to you that he did. So she was pretty much, she said, hey, I'm shocked. It was actually in the dictionary, Fugacious. So.
Well, they say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree,
Ah,
right?
Yeah.
But now I don't know where he get
So
it.
you don't know where he got it from.
I don't know. And he was a math wizard. He definitely didn't get that from his mother.
Okay. So you're on the Denasha Harrison Show on Be Exposed Radio. I'm here with Tonda Wright, to include Tru Black, and I have myself in the studio, and we're talking about my son's Fugacious Life, a book that was inspired by Jaquan, right? Wonderful young man from what I'm hearing. And I'd also like to get into the topic of discussion concerning the legal fight that you're going through now. Before we go to break, can you tell us a little bit about where you are? I know, well, let me ask you this. How long has it been since your son's passed away?
8 years.
It's been 8 years. So I know you never get over, the
No.
death of a loved one. And I would never try to put myself in the position of a mother losing a child.
No, you can't.
I can't.
Right.
Losing a father, yes, cousins, but never trying to go there. But the reason that I'm asking is because I know pain becomes less.
Yes.
It becomes more tolerable.
It does.
But have you, in 8 years, have you actually had the opportunity to mourn your son?
No.
Okay,
Being
you're still
honest
going
with
through
you,
this.
no.
This
I'm
legal
still
fight.
going through the fight. It's at this point where I believe and I know that I haven't mourned.
Okay.
Because I'm still fighting. Mourning, to me, it puts you in a depression state. And I feel like I have so much more to do. He was my child. It's this fight, and we'll talk, get into it more. But this fight is not only just for the Wrights family; it's for other families out here that suffered a tragedy or a loved one due to situations. So at this point, no, I haven't mourned. I haven't even begin to get to that point as of yet.
Wow. We're here on the show. When we come back, we'll get more into the book. Before I do go to break, I'd just like to say that if you want to call in to the Denasha Harrison Show to talk to myself or Tru Black or Miss Wright, call in live at 410-702-5657. Once again, that's 410-702-5657. You can also text us at 443-642-9403 or email us at info@beexposedradio.com. So when you get the opportunity, go ahead and call in, text in. If you're going to call in while we're live, please do it while we're actually talking, because if you're doing it between the commercial breaks, you won't get a chance to get a hold of us. So when you hear us talking, you want to call in. Once again, that's 410-702-5657. And you can also go to beexposedradio.com. You can also go on to YouTube, because we are on YouTube Live as well with the show. This is the Denasha Harrison Show. Don't go away. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back right after these words.
Free stuff for you just for listening to this station. Yo, we got your attention? Here's how it works. You click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for cool stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple. Free stuff just for doing what you already do. Radio Loyalty. Click the banner to join now. Join the club that gives you stuff. Hey, thanks! Radio Loyalty. Here's how it works. Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then, you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right? Radio Loyalty. Click that banner to join now.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monty from Talk Lately. I want y'all to sit back and listen to this flashback. We be tripping.
I mean, really, but I mean, he might have. I got him maybe jacking her up.
The kids said he did it.
But this is Floyd Mayweather punching her head repeatedly, and like she doesn't have like brain damage.
No, she didn't have brain damage. I don't think he was hitting her like that. Or he probably was like, say something else. Say something else.
That
he probably wasn't like tagging her.
Right.
He probably was just like, and the kids was like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Why do they have the accent? Why? Why do his kids have the accent?
I just pictured them looking like Africans. Oh. I didn't want to have to admit that. I don't know what they're going to do about my mouth, but just check out the show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's more of the same right here on BeExposedRadio.com. You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Football, you basically have a good 10 to 12 years, and that's what it is.
When you have a lot of people retiring early, it's funny. A lot of me and my alumni from UVA, where I graduated from, one of our fellow Wahoos, he retired yesterday, 32 years old. To Brigashaw Ferguson, and he's been in the league like 10 or 12 years. So like you said, a lot of guys are making that change on their own now, because they're seeing a lot of things from the the concussion movement,
right?
Stuff that's been happening. Is not the noun, is the effects later, because you see different stories of men are in like their 50s and some are committing suicide because of the banging and the voices or the concussions. And
did you see that?
I haven't got a chance to see it. But
Not the movie, but did you see it?
Did you put something?
We're back on the Denasha Harrison Show. Thank you for joining us here on Be Exposed Radio. And once again, we're sitting here with Miss Wright talking about the book called My Son's Fugacious Life. In the middle of the break, we were actually talking, and I know you had a question that you asked that kind of brought some things out that we want to continue to roll.
Well, it wasn't a question. It was a statement from her actual book where you speak on how people started to avoid you after your son's passing. And I guess because of the circumstances, the fact that you were fighting and the fact that a lot of people don't know what it is to lose a child, what do you say to someone? And how do you feel about that when, as a parent, this is the time you think you need everybody and that everyone would just at least ask how you are? How did you feel when they were just ignoring the fact that you lost someone that you love so dearly?
Oh, wow. Great question. I guess in a situation like that, I never, I talked about it and I asked, people ask questions, but people, when we talk about it now, 8 years later, they say they didn't know what to say.
Right.
They didn't know how to say it. They didn't want to say anything that would make me upset. They didn't say anything that, would make me cry. And I told them this will be a painful tragedy for me for the rest of my life. And anybody that goes through a tragedy, whether it's a child, a family member, a spouse, a friend, whoever it may be, you always going to feel some type of pain or some type of tragedy. The best advice that I can give with dealing with that, of going through it myself, is if you're a friend to that person, remain a friend.
Right.
If you're a family member, remain loyal. Listen, I just called to see, hey, are you okay and everything's all right? If you feel like talking, I'm here for you. Just open up the door of communications with people, because I have felt like people avoided me because they didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to say. And after
So you didn't take it personally?
I didn't take it personal because I felt like
it wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional, knowing the people that I know. Now, you have some people that's nosy now, and they wanted to know things just to be nosy. It wasn't about a concern about me or the rest of my family. But I didn't take it personal to a point where I felt like they really just didn't care. I just felt, after having conversations with my family and friends, they just didn't know what to say and how to say it, because it's 7 girlfriends that I talk about in the book. Out of all of us, I'm the only one that lost a child.
Right.
So they know me, but they also know that, they didn't want to say the wrong things to kind of make me upset or put me in a situation where I feel like I'm going to be crying the whole day. So they kind of tiptoed around the situation. But I think that's the worst thing that you can do. I think that you should be able to be open with your loved one that's going through something, because it helps. It makes you feel like somebody cares.
Correct. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was that on that day, on August 14th, when your son was shot, your son was shot 3 times, non-life-threatening wounds.
Yes.
And the reason why he passed away was because EMS did nothing to help your son at the time. Can you go back and talk about that particular part about the that shooting?
Okay. We have what we call, well, everyone across the world is what they call, it's called a PDOA, which is called a patient dead on arrival. And what the fire department is saying that when they got there, that's the position or that's the state that he was in, meaning that he was already dead. As doing research and further taking it legally, we found out that that wasn't true. We actually found out that he actually was alive, and he was actually alive he survived at least 30 to 40 minutes when DC Fire and EMS Department was there. And
so how long was he on the ground?
They got the call 6 minutes after the shots was heard. They were there within 6 to 8 minutes after the first shot, or after they heard after someone heard the shots. So they were there more than enough time. Why they chose to not do whatever they needed to do, that's a question still we're trying to get an answer to. You did have one particular young lady, and I talked about in the book. She was a sergeant, a senior paramedic with over 20-something years on the job. And she tried to intervene to help because she said, hey, this is somebody's child laying out here. You know, we need to try to resuscitate. We need to find out exactly what's going on with them instead of just calling it and leaving it.
So we're going to talk more about her role and the person that stopped her from doing her job.
Okay.
Right. We'll be right back.
All right.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
You're struggling with your mortgage. You think about it. You don't do anything but think about it.
What are we going to do if we lose the house? Where are we going to go?
At work.
I can't let anybody find out. I'm so embarrassed.
At dinner.
How can I tell the kids? It's going to wreck their lives.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get through this. What's going to happen to us?
It's time to stop thinking. It's time to start dialing. Call 1-888-995-HOPE for a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options.
I'm all alone.
No, you're not. We've helped over 1 million homeowners, and we want to help you. And now there are more ways to help. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
When you were a little kid and you thought about what you wanted to be, teaching was at the top of your list. But things changed. And as you got older, teaching didn't seem like the best option anymore. So you're thinking you'll be something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Now you want to be a doctor. You don't think teachers save lives? 25 at a time. An actress? Try playing a different role every time the bell rings. How about a scientist? Ever heard of physics? Chemistry? Who do you think teaches that? Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, and taking learning far beyond the four walls of the classroom. It's time to recognize that great things are happening in teaching and put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
The Style Lounge. For a personalized fashion experience, the Style Lounge is where you should be. From clothing, jewelry, handbags, and accessories, contact us for pop-up shops, vending opportunities, and more. Let us help you enhance your style. Let's discover your inner fashion ego. We are available for on-site and off-site consultations. For your appointment, call 443-248-8879. 15% off with business card.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monty from Talk Lately. I want y'all to sit back and listen to this flashback. We be tripping.
I mean, really, but I mean, he might have. I got him maybe jacking her up.
The kids said he did it.
But this is Floyd Mayweather punching her head repeatedly, and like she doesn't have like brain damage.
No, she didn't have brain damage. I don't think he was hitting her like that. Or he probably was like, say something else. Say something else.
That
he probably wasn't like tagging her.
Right.
He probably was just like, and the kids was like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Why do they have the action? Why?
Yeah, they need to go.
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Be Exposed Radio. Before we went to break, we were talking about the role of the sergeant that was on the scene when your son was shot. And you were explaining her experience. So she was, at that time, which would now be 28 years, right? So 20 years experience, she went to respond to the scene and to assess your son. And what happened?
She was interrupted by a chief that was there on the scene and told her it wasn't no need to do an assessment. He was pretty much dead, and it was some type of destruction between the two of them. And you know, she was trying to stand firm with it and said, "Hey, this is something I think that this is somebody's child that we need to look at. You know, I need to at least put a cardiac monitor on them to see, you know, what kind of cardiac rhythms in, if it's anything that I can do and if he can be saved." And he was interrupted by a person that I talk about in my book as a chief. He's still a chief in DC Fire and EMS Department.
Wow.
Yes.
And he got it. From what I understand, it was to the point where she wasn't the only person that tried to respond to your son.
It was a couple of
others, and they felt like they were intimidated.
Yes,
correct?
they felt that it was aggressive behavior towards them.
It's a ranking thing too.
Yeah,
because they still have to work there.
Yes, it was. Excuse me. It was one of those situations where they felt like, we're trying to tell you this is something you don't do on a regular basis. This is something we do, and when it comes to emergency medicine.
So he was out of his element.
He was out of his element.
So to go back, what we're going to talk about is the fact that he was shot 3 times, non-life-threatening, twice in the chest, once in the leg.
Yes.
And he had some lacerations to his head, what made it look like he might have been shot in the head.
Right.
But he wasn't assessed properly. So he pronounced him, what is the term again?
They call him PDOA, patient dead on arrival.
Without even looking to see whether or not it was an actual gunshot wound to the head. Though you can survive those things.
Yes, you can.
As long as all the major organs haven't been interfered with. So he didn't really know what to do with your son at the time and allowed him to expire on the street without giving any kind of care. 1 minute of CPR was the only thing that was administered. And though he may have had a low pulse, he could have been saved. It was a 75% chance, had he been rushed into surgery 6 minutes away, that he could have been here. That the possibility was so large because of his age and where the wounds actually were, that he could have survived. So the book is basically you going through the stages of finding out that something was wrong,
Yes.
that he could have survived. Going to the coroner yourself and getting the report, and the report is in there undacted, except for names.
Yes.
But the actual terminology and the coroner's inquiry in that particular case was able to be clearly that he was not giving the proper care, and that he was left to die on the street when he didn't have to be murdered. He could have been shot.
Yes.
But he could have been surviving this particular kind of wounds.
And when they thought that the head wound, anybody that's in the medical field or any lame person, you know, sitting here, if a person falls from a standing position, fall backwards, then they will have some type of laceration, hematoma to the back of their head.
Right.
If they fall forward, you will have some type of laceration or hematoma to the front of your head. That's obvious. But this was 10 o'clock in the morning. We're not talking 10 o'clock at night. We're not talking a possibility late night where you can't see.
Right.
We're talking daylight, sun shining, 10 o'clock in August. Again, what made him make the decision to say, to leave him? I have no idea. This is a question that me and my attorney still posing in court, trying to find out exactly what happened on August 14, 2008. An 18-year-old with no medical history, 3 gunshot wounds, 2 to his chest, one to his upper back, 1 to the chest, and 1 to the leg that actually broke his leg. And he didn't survive.
Right.
As a person like me in the medical field, your antennas go up. Now, like I talk about in the book, I got in detective mode. Hey, I got to find out what happened to my baby, because this is not normal. Something else must have went wrong for him not to make it, and for him not to even have a chance to go to the hospital when the hospital was 6 minutes away.
Right.
You was on the scene within 6 minutes, so he still was alive.
So what was the explanation that this acting chief gave?
Did he believe that he was shot in the head?
But he never physically assessed your son.
No.
And he's still on the job.
Still on the job and still in a ranking factor. Yes.
Was he an EMS? Was he cross-trained at
He
that
wasn't
time?
a paramedic, but he wasn't a paramedic that actually been on the streets in a while. And when I went through the court, far as my court system and everything, I had a surgeon in there that testified on my behalf about my son's injuries. And he said he believed that he thought the paramedic that made this decision was someone that sat at a desk. He didn't realize it was somebody that actually was in the streets, because anybody as a paramedic or MT in the streets knew this was a load and go situation.
Right.
They knew they didn't have time to mess around. You need to do a quick assessment and take the patient to the hospital.
Which would be a load and go. So, with that being said, I mean, how do you feel as a medical professional for someone that pretty much disregarded a life of a child? What do you really feel what's behind that?
I struggle with that on a daily basis, trying to get a understanding. And I think what it did for me was throw me in my work more. That I had to be at every shooting, at every stabbing, anything that somebody went through in the District of Columbia. I wanted to be there because I wanted to make sure they were given an opportunity to be transported to the hospital, even though my child wasn't. And so I threw myself, I think, more into my work, more so than anything, because I felt like I had to do this for someone else because the opportunity was taken away from my son.
Wow. This is something that you can actually sit with us and talk about this situation. Losing so much, yet there's so much that you're fighting, moving forward.
Yes.
I won't call it an uphill. I won't call it an uphill battle, because
she's been doing this fight for a long time. You're right.
But you're moving forward, taking care of your business, because you have to find out what happened, and well, not so much as what happened, but where the justice is going to come in at. And of course, you're doing this for others, which is why you wrote the book. I mean, you do what you do for others, as far as your profession, and the fact that you're sharing your story, sharing this book with us. It's for so many other people out there that are in the same position or like positions as you are, which I find I'm almost lost for words when it
Well,
comes
I'm kinda
to this
disturbed
person.
by not just the person, but the inquiry that happened afterwards, which is basically his peers, his peers, right?
Right.
His peers who decided that what he did followed the policy under firefighters, what they could have
Firefighting
done.
EMS, yes.
But when I read why you can name someone a patient dead on scene,
He didn't fit in.
those
No, he did not.
circumstances. He didn't fit any of those things. The fact that he didn't assess the body to know whether or not it was a gunshot wound or a dermahematoma from falling from being shot. The fact that they were working, it was 2 people that were shot that day.
Yes.
Older gentleman was shot.
Yes.
And they worked on him, and what made him different than an 18-year-old? 18-year-old has a larger chance to survive than someone, who is a little bit older. The fact that he never touched your son
Right.
to figure out if he had a pulse.
Right.
Even if it was a gunshot wound, I mean, the rigor mortis wasn't there. He wasn't in water for 24 hours.
Right.
He didn't bleed out. It wasn't enough blood to say that he bled out or anything like that.
He didn't meet any criteria.
He didn't
to be
meet any of the criteria, which is
patient
several
dead.
different ones that you name in the book.
Right.
The patient assessment is the first thing that anybody who is a first responder knows that they have to do. Me working for the police department, we deal with a lot of people who die on tracks. And even though, they might be, pieces of them might be around.
Right.
You still have to go and check to see if
just
they're
to verify.
moving.
Yes.
You have to verify. And then on top of that, you don't get to pronounce them dead at the scene.
No.
That's
not
something for
qualified.
a qualified medical professional to do in the first place. So the fact that a panel of his peers said that he followed procedure when the first thing he didn't do was assess the patient, and then he pronounced him at the scene and left them there without any other care, without even anyone attempting to care for him. So it really boggles the mind as to say, why did they think that it was okay for him to be wrong? And even if it was wrong, that means that person needs to be pulled. They need to be retrained. It was a problem with the training.
And
obviously.
the training he would have, all of those things you just said would have happened if the panel would have said he did something wrong. But you got to remember, he's the head. I'm the chief in this position. So if you get me off and you get me off, what I'm going to do for you all?
So the panel
I'm going to make sure that you're promoted. I'm going to make sure you want to go in a position you want to go to. It's a game. It's just a game that you play, but you're playing it with someone's life. If you're saying that you're wrong and you know you're wrong, you know he's wrong, but you don't want to write it up that he's wrong. But hey, I know I was wrong, but now I'm going to have to pay you back for writing off the wrong. And that's just how I feel. And I have known that because it was 5 paramedics that sat on that EMS panel and said he did absolutely nothing wrong. You can see everything that's in that book. You can put it up on any internet and tells you exactly what PDOA. That's across the world. That is just not a Washington, D.C. thing. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to know that and you stand behind it, and then you still allow D.C. Fire and EMS Department still allow him to be the face of our department, what does that say for the whole department?
So let's just call it a disciplinary review board.
Yes.
If this is who we went before, you mean to tell me that the same people that works with his department,
yes,
that he's responsible for,
yes,
that they're responsible to, so his peers and his subordinates
So
were
it's
the
not
ones
really
to
his
put him
peers,
in.
it's his subordinates.
Exactly.
His subordinates are the ones that ran the disciplinary review board and found no fault in their boss, pretty much.
Yes.
So it was no outside panels, no one from the outside.
They did do an outside panel, and this is where things get tricky. They did do an outside panel with the sergeant that I was telling you about. She raised the question to the outside, outside bureau and say, hey, something ain't right here. Mm-hmm. And their thing was they try to put it, as I talked about in the book, they try to punish her for speaking out and telling the truth.
Right. She was on the investigation for 14 months.
14 months on administrative for speaking out about the truth. But they try to flip it on her to make it seem like she was lying and telling. But she had other people to back her up. What they did was they didn't fully expose all the other reports that backed up her story.
Mm-hmm. And why is it taking 8 years? because you're in appeals right now.
I'm in the court of appeals.
I don't want to get into the specifics of
Right.
your court case because I don't know if it's an ongoing investigation but I know that because you're moving forward with the appeal process. I don't want to get too specific with your situation, but why do you think it's taken 8 years?
DC, well, how we got to this point, anyone that looks at this would say this was a cut and dry case, pretty much. You screwed up, it's proven. He should have, made it survive. He had a 75% of chance of survival. Things wasn't life-threatening. But DC has what they call a law. It's called the Public Duty Doctrine. And in that law, it protects DC Fire EMS, emergency response, paramedics, firefighters, and also protect Metropolitan Police Department from being held liable for things such as negligent and things such as this case. So with this law being there and fighting this law is something that we're still fighting. It's something that is taking 8 years because anybody knows the district system. We're just back and forth in court. We've been back and forth in court. The last time I've been in court was a year ago, so I'm still waiting on a court of appeal. We lost in regular court, in a district court, where they said that this public duty doctrine was the law, stating that you have to prove to the district that this person did negligent to the person that the wrongful death suit that you're suing for. Even though it's proven,
right?
But in their eyes, it's not. In a court of law, it's a little different.
It's something similar to the Good Samaritan law where it protects citizens who go and help and do CPR, pull you out of fire, and you cause some type of damage.
Yes.
And then it limits the liability. But what it sounds like is that this panel, all they did was trying to get DC off for being liable.
Yes.
And based on that, the fact that he wasn't trained appropriately, which is negligent on the DC Fire Department's part for not giving proper instructions on how to react on the scene, patient assessment. Everyone that has taken a CPR class,
yes,
one of the things that you learn is about patient assessment. It doesn't matter who it is. You are not the one that pronounces someone dead on scene. That is not something that you do. You're not qualified for that because it is a legal thing. I mean, someone can expire hours ago, but as soon as you take them to the morgue or you take them to the hospital, that is when they become pronounced. So the fact that they didn't do that the fact that they let him off is because, one, why you have subordinates that answer to you that can be punished afterwards.
Right,
yes.
And two, for someone speaking out and saying this is an incorrect action, that, he forced me not to try to save this person. And that person was then punished for saying that, for whistleblowing is allowed anywhere in the country. And then 3, for there not to be an independent review outside of that to say, okay, maybe we have some internal issues where we are not allowing people to do what they need to do. Maybe he didn't understand what that actually meant because he failed the criteria. He did not do what he needed to do to save someone's life, regardless if it was an 18-year-old black male or a 40-year-old white male or female. It should be different. It should not be different. It should be every patient be assessed. Whatever you can do to save a life, save a life. We don't know his circumstances before he got there. Your job is just to figure out how to save that person's life, and that's what they should have been done.
You're listening to the Denasha Harrison Show. We have Tru Black. We have Tonda Wright. We're talking about the story of Shaquan and the book called My Son's Fugacious Life. 410-702-5657. 443-642-9403 on the text. The Denasha Harrison Show. We'll be back right after these words.
Only in the forest can you see this. And this. And this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
I didn't know it could do that!
Because one trip to the forest can spark a world of difference.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, canoeing, fishing, or camping. Or create your own adventure with family and friends, and you might just see this. Your moment's out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
What are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
Well, what are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. Don't you remember me? Don't you know that we miss you?
Miss me? Who misses me?
You know, all your friends in the forest. The trees, the pond, that little fort that you made out of branches. We all miss you.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
This forest is not that far away. Have an adventure today. I'm sure your mom would take you.
You're right. I should get out. I want to have fun. Play in puddles, catch frogs, and climb trees. Hey, Mom!
Yeah, hon? Steven, what is that in your hand?
It's my sense of adventure, Mom. It's telling me we need to get out of the house and have some fun in nature today.
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org.
So just type the job website address here.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service.
That's it. Then you enter what job you're looking for there.
Electrician. This is Peter. Recently, he got help going on the internet for the first time to look for a new job.
Okay, then you just hit search and...
In the past, Peter's gotten work through people he knew, but he heard there were more jobs online.
There we go.
These are all for me?
Uh-huh.
Really? He had no idea just how many. I can't believe it. This one looks good. Peter is thinking the internet might be for him after all.
And this is just one website.
Wow. Why didn't I do this sooner? See what the internet can help you do at everyoneon.org or call 1-855-387-9166 to find a free training class near you. Brought to you by Connect to Compete and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show. Thank you for joining us. And for everybody that's listening, I want to remind everybody that our number is 410-702-5657. You can also text us at 443-642-9403. I'd also like to mention a couple of things here for the station. Here at Be Exposed Radio, we do have an open house, the BXR Open House. That's going to be on the 19th of November. That's a Saturday from 12 to 5 p.m. So please come out and support. Also, Bianca's Playhouse premiere is going on the 12th of November. That's Saturday from starts at 7 p.m. So let's support. Let's come on out and support, and be a part of the Be Exposed Radio family. So you can catch us on Facebook Live right now. Also, BeExposedRadio.com to include YouTube. Info us at info at BeExposedRadio.com as well. We also have sponsorship opportunities available for you. If you want to support the show or any other show here at the radio station, please feel free to do so. Go to the Denasha Harrison Show Facebook, or you can go to the BeExposedRadio.com page to learn how you can support the show. It's not a free show. We appreciate the support from the sponsors. And so, yeah, thanks for listening. So getting back into what we were talking about before. Wow. So tell us about the doctor. Was this a experienced doctor, inexperienced doctor, someone that's never seen or dealt with this before?
This was a neurosurgeon that specialized in trauma. 32, 33 years of doing this. And what happened was we had to hire someone to do be an expert witness to testify on my behalf with this case about the injuries, for my son. And in his report, he stated that they wasn't life-threatening. They became life-threatening when they were left untreated. And he also stated that he would have had a chance of survival if the paramedics just would have did their job. And he felt like that he did a map of the location where he was, the time frame it would have took them to get in the surgery. He broke the surgery down from the beginning to the end in court, saying how the surgery would have went, the medication that needed to be. He did everything. And it was one of those situations where it really hit me that day. To now know that something wasn't right, the gut feeling that I thought wasn't right, and to hear that something did go wrong. And now to hear this surgeon with more than enough experience tell me that, he could have been saved if they would have just did their job. I think just put like it just shut me down for at least a week or two. I just was lost for words. I didn't want to discuss the case. I still was in court. I didn't want to go to court. I just was done. It was one of those situations where somebody tell you that your coworkers, what we go out in these streets and did, what I have been doing for the last 15 years, or at that time I think it was the last 11 years, everything that you do and you know that you learn in your medical field, that your coworkers are not doing the same. So it was one of those situations where I had to really grasp myself, get myself together for someone to tell you that you're in this field, it was your coworkers, and to go to work every day, to be able to see these same people that was involved in this, knowing that your son could have been saved, was something that I had to deal with.
So after being at that juncture, you talked to the neurosurgeon, you talked to the coroner, you found out what could have been done.
Yes.
And you realized the mistakes that others made.
Yes.
So now you're moving forward. Not only are you in this this legal battle to bring justice for your son, you're also moving forward with your profession. You're still in the medical profession,
yes.
correct? So you're still helping folk, but you're also talking to people about your experience beyond your book, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I talk to people in terms of coping with death, just coping with everyday life of dealing with a loved one. It's not easy. As I talk about in the book, all in 1 year, I had to deal with burying my son. I had to deal with a wrongful death lawsuit, and I also had to deal with a murder trial. So you have to be a person that's determined. You have to know that this fight is not for you. This fight is for your loved one, your child. This fight is for other people that don't have a voice.
Right.
And I had to take it on. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to be some sad days. I knew it was going to be some days when things didn't go my way. But I was determined to do it because I felt as a mother, I owe that to him. And whether your children are still here living today or they have passed on, and if it's a situation like this, it is your job as a parent to fight the fight for your child because they can't do it. So I felt like now it get rough. I have my moments where I have to go to work and still trying to put the story out. I think the biggest part of this is trying to get the story out, trying to get people to know about the book, trying to get people to know about the story, because it's a story that's right in the backyard of D.C., of Washington, D.C., that a story that needs to be told. And hopefully that I can help heal some parents that lost their kids and say, hey, whatever situation that happened and you feel like something's not right, keep fighting. It's a must.
Well, I hope that someone out there can benefit from what you're sharing. If there's someone out there that's listening to the show right now, 410-7025-657, feel free to give us a call live. This is the Denasha Harrison Show, and sometimes, unfortunately, our audience catches the show once it's on YouTube.
Right.
They don't have the opportunity to listen, but they can still call in, they can still text, they can still send messages in, because I would like for folk to get in touch with you that need to get in touch with you. You understand?
She has a Facebook
Right.
fan page.
Yes.
Facebook, and we'll make sure we put all that out there, because we got a while. We're going to be with each other for a while tonight. But I want to make sure that people are able to get in touch with you, because, as much as people would try to understand what you are going through, if you haven't lost a child, then you can't put yourself in another person's shoes that have. And if you have lost a child, it's still a different experience for you, depending on who you are, what your experiences are. So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about your pastor that flew all the way back home to assist you.
Yes.
And how you felt about that situation. So for everybody listening, this is the Denasha Harrison Show. We'll be back right after these messages. Don't go away, and thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
Yeah,
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
What does hustle hard mean to you? What does that signify in your life?
That's a lifestyle for me. You know what I mean? Like, true story. I was born into a family and a community of hustlers. Now let's get focused right quick, because when people hear the word hustler, they confuse it with con artist or something negative. So they like to call people entrepreneurs, right? But the definition, and I'm paraphrasing, but the definition of hustle is forced movement or to be hurried, right? But we're not talking about just pushing other people. Sometimes you got to push yourself, and that what makes you a hustler. True story. So the thing about it is, like, when it comes to hustling, listen, quick story. I used to go buy juleps a lot, right? And my grandmother used to make me clean the yard, shovel snow, do things like that to go get a julep. But one day she was like, look, you putting all your money in someone else's pocket.
Word.
Save those quarters, and then I can teach you how to make a formula, and you can sell your own juleps. You understand? So the next couple weeks, I saved my money.
Always a hustler.
Listen,
got to love
but think
everybody
about
got
this.
a grandma story like that.
Grandmothers are the natural hustlers because they were the ones who maintained and sustained our families through epidemics. You're talking Big Mama went through slavery and held it. You're talking Big Mama went through the Depression and held it. Big Mama went through crack and held it and still maintains it today. So if you don't think you come from a hustler, then you don't know where you come from. You understand?
That's so real.
I began to sell juleps, and ever since then, I capture a hustle. And a hustle is not a swindle. It's not a sneaky thing. It's
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show. When we went to break, we were talking about your pastor and how he was there for you and your family during your time of need 8 years ago. So it's in the book. So for you all who want to know more about this story, detail for detail, please go out and get the book. But talk to us about your pastor. Where was he?
Pastor Reverend Tony Lee, Community of Hope in Temple Hills, Maryland. When he called me to give me my condolence about my son, he was in Jerusalem, and I explained to him if he couldn't make it to, he told me he was out of town, he wasn't going to be able to make it, but he sent his condolence, and I told him if he couldn't make it, it wasn't going to be a service, because I felt like I wasn't strong enough to do it. I felt like I needed somebody that I felt connected to spiritually to help me through it. And he's just an awesome, he's just an awesome pastor, because he told me, don't worry, he's going to take a red eye. He'll be there.
A red eye from where?
From Jerusalem.
So he was in Jerusalem.
He would be there, and I guess it took maybe a day or so later. He was there. He told me it's going to be something we're going to have to put together, but we can do it. Him and his, and also Dr. Nancy Lee actually came, and she helped, and also the choir of my church. It was something short and quick, but we were able to do it. And I'm just grateful and really thankful for my pastor, because I just believe when you're being connected to your pastor, you should feel like it's somebody that you really can go to it. And I just and I felt like in my darkest moments, he was there. He was there, and he came through, and he did it.
Is he still your pastor?
Oh yes. Every Sunday and every chance I get. Yes, he is.
So he got you through that fog.
He got me through that fog. He prayed with me. We talked about it. We had to get the eulogy together, and his open door policy now, 8 years later, if I need to call and say, Pastor, I'm having a dark moment, we need to talk, make arrangements, and we'll meet up, and we will have it. Yes.
I found that was one of the hardest things that I had to do, because I lost my father. And, me and my brother, we had to go through that process. Picking out arrangements and what casket and going to dress my father.
Yes.
My brother just gave my father a haircut, I think a week before he passed, so that was one less thing that we had to go through. But my brother's a master barber, so he went and touched my father up. But just to be in that process when you have your loved one laying there, they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
My father was supposed to be in the barber's chair, or he was supposed to be at home, getting dressed. But for us to have to be in that moment, it's such a disconnect.
Yes.
And to have someone to help you through that disconnect, it's a blur, right? Some things you remember, some things come back to you. You really don't recall how you got from one day to the next. And just to imagine, it being a child.
Yes.
For the pastor to, first of all, he didn't turn it over to his assistant pastor or to the pastor down the street. I'm sure he was in Jerusalem on a pilgrimage, which my mother's actually been on that pilgrimage too, going to all the holy sites and things like that. To actually get out of that country, to catch a red eye back, to be there for one of his members, says a lot about him and a lot about that church.
It was definitely, again, I cannot be most thankful for that pastor, because, like you said, a lot of pastors probably would have gave it over to the senior pastor or someone else, but
Deacon Jones,
I guess he felt like I needed a friend. And I will say I had close friends. My girlfriends I've been friends with for over 30-something years. They came up and support my family. Majority of my family is in Richmond, Virginia. They came out. But you have to have a support system around to do it. And just to go back and touch on, I couldn't actually go and identify John Quan when this happened. Actually, two of my friends in D.C. actually went to do it. I couldn't do it. And to go to pick out the casket and it was something. I got frustrated. I got mad. I was angry. It had to be done. I was the only person in a position to do so.
Right.
But I wanted to come back the next day, and the lady at the funeral, where you make the arrangement, said
you got to do it right now.
You got to do it right now. You can't come back to me. Well, why can't I? These are questions that I say about myself now. And it's like you must really was just out of it, because I was trying to bargain with them to let me come back another day. I just didn't want to do it that day.
Right.
But I had to realize, I had a girlfriend, she lives in Florida, and she said, listen, this got to be done now. You have to pull yourself together and get through this. I know it's hard, but the only way he's going to get buried and it's going to get done right if you do it. And so it's that little extra knock or that little wake-up call somebody gives you to tell you, hey, you got to get it together.
So during this time, how was your faith tested, and are you still faithful?
Oh, whew. That's a question. Honestly, it was, because I had to realize that, and this is what my pastor told me, and what makes him such an awesome pastor, and till this day still my pastor. He said, God understands you're bitter with him. He understands that. But however, you have to have faith that this day shall pass. You will get stronger. If you will have your darkest nights, you will have in the midst of the storm, all of that's going to come. But if you have faith in God, then you know this is no mistake. You know that this too shall pass. But the problem for me was, at that time, I didn't want to hear it.
Sure.
I had a faith, and I know I serve an awesome God. I know I do. But again, a question in your mind, two things. As a mother, you wasn't there to protect your child. So two, why does this have to happen to you when you think that you are in the right path with your life for your children? But having these conversations with my pastor and just telling me that I have to keep believing when you know that when you don't have your child. It took a minute for it to register and for me to understand. But today I stand and I tell you, it's nothing but the grace of God for me to be sitting here with you all now to talk about it, where I'm not somewhere off in a dark place, because I felt like I trusted God. I trusted everything that I know from being a Christian, that this too shall pass. It's not going to be easy, but in order to get yourself in a better place, you have to be honest with yourself and say it's painful, it ain't right, but what are you going to do about it? You going to sit there and cry and mope about it, or you going to let the whole world know how you feel? And that's what another part of Pump Me with the book. Are you going to help somebody, or you just going to keep your feelings balled up? You're a person that like to help people, so put it out there so it can help other people that's going through it, that may have the question with their faith, or may have the question of why this happened. So it was one of those situations, like I say, that you have to, whoever you believe in, we all come from different spiritual backgrounds, but I believe that, yes, I was bitter, at the beginning, until I realized that this was just part of, this is life and this is what happened. You have to be a person that says, get yourself together, because if not, you're going to be in this dark place. And I was there. I was there, and it's something that I would tell anybody. It's not something that you can say, wipe your eyes and get over it. No.
Right.
It ain't that easy.
It's not that
It's going to be better. No, it's not that easy. 8 years later, and I still have my moments when I cry. I still have my moments when I throw stuff against the wall. I still have my attention to him like a 2-year-old, because of not understanding why someone didn't do their job. I think that's the biggest question I have. I'm beyond the question of why it happened, because it happened, that's what it is, and God sees best. Now I'm back at the question is, why didn't you do your job?
So the book really speaks upon the fact that you're fighting this particular law.
Yes.
That you, not just for yourself, but for other families, because you do name other cases.
Yes.
And the disposition of those cases where DC has been getting out from having any liability in these cases. And if they do settle, they settle for small amounts that really impugns the memory of the person that they lost, because someone didn't do what they were supposed to do. And you're not trying to get rich. I don't get that out of that book. What I'm seeing is that you want someone to be responsible for not doing what they do and what they should have done, not just for your son, for any family member anywhere. So I hear how your faith was tested, and I've seen that you have gone beyond that and moved on to a point of service.
Yes.
Where you believe that this is a bigger picture for you and your family, that you're here to speak not for the Jaquans, but for every family in the D.C. area that are serviced by them. The law itself, when it speaks as if the government only deals with the whole.
Yes.
And although an individual is then contacted by someone from the EMS department or fire department, that they are not responsible if they do something that is not procedure. But that's what training is for. They're supposed to follow those general orders that gives them direction on what to do. So if those operational procedures are not followed, what is the recourse for a family? And that law negates that for the government, when they're the ones that employ, hire, and train these people to come out there and service the greater good. But when you're saying that the government itself is not liable, but they're the ones that are training, they're the ones that are hiring, they're the ones that are keeping people on, they're not punishing, they're not retraining, they're not doing anything for that. How do you speak to those families that are being impacted by this particular law?
What I'll say to you, I'll say to the families is, you have to push on. It has to come to a situation where you have to say, I'm not only doing this for me, I'm doing it for my loved one. You have to be in a position mentally where you can take it on, because it's not easy. It's not easy to keep hearing the door close behind you when you leave the court building, and you got to go back for another court date. You got to go back for another summons. You got to go back for another hearing. I heard that for 8 years, and I'm still hearing it. But I'm here to tell you that I'm still fighting, because I feel like if I don't, who will? And all the families that I wrote about in D.C., my heart goes out to them, and I want them to know that this fight is not just for me, it's for everybody that lives in Washington, D.C., that travels through Washington, D.C., or who even works in Washington, D.C., because this law affects you whether you live there or not. You could be traveling through D.C. and something happens, and 911 got to be called. And you can be your family, or you can be in this situation.
Right.
So this is not just a fight for just the people in the book. It's not just a fight for my family, for the Wrights family. It's a family in every human being in the District of Columbia. This law needs to be changed. It needs to be looked at, and people need to know more about it. People don't really know too much about it.
Unless they've gotten hurt.
Unless you got hurt, but I'm encouraging people to read up on it. And like you said, it is to protect the city as a whole. But you got to remember, when you call 911, you're going for that one individual or two people. You're not going for the whole city.
Right.
So how is that a law to protect the whole city when you're responding to a call for one individual or two people?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Right. It's not fair.
No.
So, for the good of all, but liable to none.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and it allows people like the person who was responsible for not assisting your son to continue to have a job, continue to be in a position of leadership, continue to be in a position of training. And I know many institutions, organizations, for someone to make such a terrible, egregious misassessment.
Yes.
I'm not going to call it a mistake. It's just ridiculous. And the fact that this cat's still getting paid, still in a leadership position, for me to know this story and to go to his station, I can't respect a cat like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to know the truth and know that we're out here on the grind doing what we do, know that he didn't know what he was doing when he was out there. And then he told people who did know what to do not to do anything.
Right.
Because he was feeling himself. So 410-702-5657. You're on the Denasha Harrison Show. Thank you for sharing your story. We're going to continue to do so right after these messages. We'll be right back.
Yeah, they no, he's still.
You're listening to the station with their ear to the streets. BeExposedRadio.com.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Are you thinking about getting your GED diploma? Well, here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a number of pep talks that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You know that feeling? People look at you and don't believe in you.
You want some gentle encouragement.
Then you're on your way to your GED diploma and a better life.
But I know they're probably just a little bit nervous. You can find it in yourself to take that first step.
You can improve your future. You can do this. I know you can.
You need to start pushing yourself.
Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need to get your GED diploma, we've got a pep talk that's right for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and find free GED classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
When you were a little kid and you thought about what you wanted to be, teaching was at the top of your list. But things changed. And as you got older, teaching didn't seem like the best option anymore. So you're thinking you'll be something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Now you want to be a doctor. You don't think teachers save lives? 25 at a time. An actress? Try playing a different role every time the bell rings. How about a scientist? Ever heard of physics? Chemistry? Who do you think teaches that? Teachers today are breaking...
The show here on Be Exposed Radio. Welcome back to the show. So we're talking about the individual who's responsible for not making a proper assessment, the person that was on the scene. And so we're going to get this information, and we're going to read up specifically on what happened. We're going to get names, the whole nine, and I'm going to put it out there. Now, I know it can't happen right here on this show right now, but it's public information. It's public knowledge. So we're going to do some research because this is Truth Radio. And it's just ridiculous that you have people in the leadership position that's actually causing people to lose their lives. If it's a mistake, say it's a mistake. Own up to it. You know, but to continue to move forward and be in these positions, nobody's going to respect you that knows the truth. And that puts other people's lives in jeopardy. So, yeah, we're going to touch on that real big. 410-702-5657. The family on the other side, the person that shot your son, do you still keep in touch with that family? Do you, or have you talked to that family? What was your interaction with that family, the person that did what he did against your son?
Well, why don't we just go back and just say that he was convicted?
Yes.
He also was 18 years old.
Yes.
He's no longer living because after 6 years later, was it 6 years later?
I think it was, it was recent, yes.
He was convicted about 6 years later, but yet he died 1 month after starting his prison term for fighting with another prisoner.
Yes.
So he's no longer here.
Right.
So we can speak about the family, about your interactions with them during the case.
Never had contact with the family. I did see the family in and out of court, but it wasn't a warm place for me to be able to conversate or have any interaction. I tell anyone, it's the coldest thing for you to be in a murder trial and the family knows who you are and just the behavior that they displayed. It was one of those situations where I tell anybody, if it was the other way around, I'll be apologizing to the family, whatever I can do. It was something that, my child done, and, I'm sorry. But I had no interaction with the family whatsoever. No conversations, no apologizing, anything. And the same thing I said about the fire department. This, and I'm going to be honest, probably wouldn't even went too far as a lawsuit if you just would have admitted your wrongdoing and apologize. Because I felt like the fire department was my second family, and I still feel that way because I still have a lot of friends on the fire department that has been very supportive to me throughout my whole 8 years of dealing with this. So, but to deal with the family of my son's murderer, I had no contact with them. But what I did write in my book, now that family can see how I feel. And I have, I prayed for that family. And I actually, prayed for the person that did it. I just think that it's a tragedy with all these young guys or young youth or young people, period, using their life to these deaths out here, these senseless deaths.
Senseless.
It's just senseless. I mean, these kids, I call them kids because I'm in my 40s, but for them to lose their life for nothing. Yeah. So, but no, I haven't had any interaction with the family. So they
never apologized. Did the young man ever apologize during sentencing?
No.
So, 410-702-5657. I have had a couple of texts come through listening to the show. Miss Lloyd, thank you for listening out there in Ashburn, Virginia. We appreciate it. Feel free to call in if you like. But thank you for listening. And we also have California on the line. They're actually listening. Michigan's listening. Atlanta's listening. So we really do appreciate what you're doing, talking with us this evening. And I'm hoping to have you back to talk more about the things that you have coming up. And we definitely want to hear the process of the case, how you're coming. Question for you. AFL-CIO is right there off of near 14th and K, right down the street from the White House. Do you all have any type of union representation for your organization that you work for?
Yes.
So what did the unions have to say about this situation?
Very little.
As far as the lawyers that they have available for their people?
I personally wanted to do everything outside of the job.
Okay.
I didn't trust the decisions or the leadership in terms of what direction to go in. So everything I did was outside the job. And it wasn't easy getting an attorney. I went through 7 attorneys before attorney took it. And actually, my attorney's here in Baltimore. Attorney Mark Milstein is my attorney.
Okay.
And he came through from a neutral friend.
So you have a big attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Milstein. Yeah.
Yes.
That's like saying Mr. Brown in Baltimore.
Yes.
Or like saying Mr. Bowie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will say awesome attorney, stuck with me at the beginning. He told me it wasn't going to be easy. He wasn't a guaranteed win, but he would stick with me through the whole process, and he have. But it wasn't easy getting an attorney. A lot of attorneys don't like to take cases in the District of Columbia of the thinking, I guess they won't win. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I went through a lot, but I was determined to get it done. I was determined that someone was going to take the case.
Still determined.
Oh, I'm still determined that,
still
you know, that this case is going to move forward. I'm still going to be telling my story, still promoting my book. I still want to encourage people to buy my book, to actually, not only for the story, but also the message in the book.
Absolutely.
To help, hopefully, to heal someone.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to talk about this as long as we can. We want to keep talking about the process and talk about the victories that you're going to experience. So, to let folks out there know real quick, we do have an open house. I got to go ahead and make these announcements real quick before we go to break. But we got a BXR open house on Saturday, November 19th from 12 to 5. And we're looking forward to everybody coming out. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Dash Harrison Show, and we'll continue this conversation. So we appreciate you sharing.
You know,
The Style Lounge. For a personalized fashion experience, the Style Lounge is where you should be. From clothing, jewelry, handbags, and accessories, contact us for pop-up shops, vending opportunities, and more. Let us help you enhance your style. Let's discover your inner fashion ego. We are available for on-site and off-site consultations. For your appointment, call 443-248-8879. 15% off with business card.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait, hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what?
What? Hold
What'd you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monty from Talk Lately. I want y'all to sit back and listen to this flashback. We be tripping.
I mean, really, but I mean, he might have. I got him maybe jacking her up.
The kids said he did it.
But this is Floyd Mayweather punching her head repeatedly, and like she doesn't have like brain damage.
No, she didn't have brain damage. I don't think he was hitting her like that. Or he probably was like, say something else. Say something else.
That
he probably wasn't like tagging her.
Right.
He probably was just like, and the kids was like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Why do they have the accent? Why? Why do his kids have the accent?
I just pictured them looking like African. Oh. I didn't want to have to admit that. I don't know what they're going to do about my mouth, but just check out the show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's more of the same right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You're listening to BeExposedRadio.com. Talk dirty to me.
I love it. It's awesome. It's all mine. Gets me going every day.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
With all the money that you had going into transportation, you can hide it into that system. You're back on the Denasha Harrison Show here at Be Exposed Radio. We're talking about stuff in D.C. as far as where money's going, where it could be going, and how things could be redirected to help people who have gone through things like the Wright family, and how we can redirect resources and get the council members and the rest of the city officials involved with changing these absurd laws that protect those who are harming the people out there that's a part of the district. So if you have a law that needs to change, then people need to get together to change it. But before they do that, they need to understand what that law stands for. And before they can do that, they need to understand that the law actually exists. So we were sitting here talking about this law called the
Public Duty Doctrine.
The Public Duty Doctrine. And if you can go into an explanation of what that really means, what it mirrors, right? So we understand the liability aspect of it. You know, if somebody goes forward to try to assist with saving your life and something goes wrong that's beyond your control, then I don't believe they should be sued, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's something that is beyond their control. You know, they tried, they did everything that they were supposed to do, and it was just God's will that life wasn't sticking around, right? But then we get this law in D.C. that mirrors these other laws on the books, but people are getting away with murder, right? So explain a little bit about how the law works in D.C.
Well, the law states that they cover people as a whole and not individual. You have to prove that the district, and when I say the district, I'm talking about D.C. Fire and EMS Department or Metropolitan Police Department is who this law, and a couple of other agencies, but we're going to talk about these two. You have to proving by them being there, they made the situation worse than it was if they would have never showed up at all. That's the way the law reads. You have to be able to prove that in order to be, for you to actually win a case far as the public duty doctrine. What it says is we protect the city as a whole, not individually. So that's telling me when you dial 911 and the police department shows up or the fire department shows up, they only coming for that one person or maybe two people, not the whole city.
Right.
So how can the law protect the whole city, but you're not responding to the whole city?
Well, I think most importantly, how do you hold people liable who don't do their jobs? And I think that we've seen this, correct?
We were speaking about earlier about people who try to save someone and it doesn't work out. Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan. But what happens when they don't do anything at all? That's negligence right there. That's failure to act.
Yes.
So how is that covered and acceptable to not only the EMS, the firefighters, to the families of DC? How can anyone sleep at night knowing that if you do something, you fail to do what you're supposed to do, what you're trained to do, what you ought to be doing, and you don't do it, that you are not liable to that life, to that family, to the city, to the government?
That's something. And so we're not going to call out any wards.
Okay.
Or any council members' names.
Okay.
Because we're going to do our due diligence, right? We're going to do some specific research on this law.
Okay.
Specific research on who's responsible for assisting with the changes of these laws. But I would like to ask you, have you reached out to your council members?
I did.
And what response did you get back? Sounds like that, right? Okay. Absolutely silent right now. And I think that's just ridiculous. No, I mean, I that's exactly what you got back, right?
Silence. I mean,
okay, so nobody came back to you and said, okay, this is what we're going to do to take a look at, this doctrine. This is what we're going to do to see if we can amend, change, replace, repeal. No one came to you about that.
No.
So why should it take the death of Jaquan and the death of other young men and women, mothers, fathers? Why should it take us as a collective, all this pain, all this suffering, all this frustration? When you try to move all of that forward, it's like herding cats, right? Everybody has their lives, everybody has their hurts, their pains, their experiences. But yet it seems that the law requires for everybody who has been affected in a negative has to come together and move forward with that, which is, I think it's ridiculous. And the reason that I'm saying that is because for everybody that's listening to this show or that knows somebody that knows of this show or what we're talking about, I think it's important for those who have not experienced your pain to partner up with you and others who have that pain to help move this forward. And that means the commissioners out there in D.C.,
right,
council members out in D.C., no matter what ward you represent.
Yes.
Right? Everybody needs to take a look at this. And I think the first thing that we need to do, and we talked about it during the break, is talk about how we're going to get a petition started moving forward so that people can understand that this is on the books and this is not at your best interest. This is not this needs to be repealed or replaced or amended some type of way. Show me the benefits of how this doctrine serves the people of D.C., serves Washingtonians.
And one of the things that people have to understand that laws are interpreted. So depending on the judge or the one that's bringing the case forward, you have to interpret the law to fit with what the issues are.
Right.
We've seen in so many different cases that the juries weren't given proper instructions. And because they have interpreted the law in a whole different way. And when you read it, it's not in layman's terms. It's in law terms. So an average person who's reading it may not understand the gist of what is being said. So it's not broken down in a way that's easily
for people to
consumed
understand
and for them to understand. It reads in so many different ways where I can interpret it from having my law enforcement background, where I can read with the individual to individual contact. But then again, when they say in court, because you're saying that you're not suing the individual, you're suing the fire department, that the fire department is a representative of the government. Therefore, the individual that they trained is no longer liable because they're not liable.
That's crazy.
So it's all about the interpretation of how the law reads. So that needs to be cleared up where it separates the individual, the training, the department, the government, all those different things. Because yes, we want the government to work for the whole and not for the individual, but in this case, the individual caused another individual hurt, pain, and suffering. Therefore, the greater good was not served because he
Right.
did not do his due diligence
That's
at that
right.
time.
Right.
So I would like to know where we can contact you on, so people can give you their best wishes, to ask more questions, to get more information about your book.
You can go to, my website is www.tondawright.com. The book is on Amazon, My Son's Fugacious Life. You can also email me at twright13@verizon.net.
Okay. And do you have any other projects coming up besides the book? I know we talked about some things that you're going to be putting out in the future, but are you doing speaking engagements right now?
I am
Okay.
pretty much trying to just really get a hold on my audience in terms of a lot of people have been contacting me because they're going through similar incidents like this. Just now trying to focus on getting this law out here so people can know about the law and see what we can do as a whole, as people, to try to change the law. And I must say, this is not one of those laws where I'm saying they just definitely need to do without. I will say that you have to have some type of liability for the district and you have to have some liability for the person that's on the opposite end.
Right.
But the way the district have this law is, it's no bargaining, it's no middle, it's no in between, it's just straight cut and dry. But I am working on a couple of projects now. Again, you can go to www.tondawright.com for my website and order the book. If you wanted to leave me any feedback, you can go on my Facebook page at Tonda Wright. And also you can reach me at my email, twright13@verizon.net.
Now, if you're available, because we have open houses here often, and there's more shows here. You're always welcome to come on the Danash Harrison Show. But there's so many other shows here at this radio station. And I want to invite you to the next open house. Once again, it's the BXR open house. It's on a Saturday on the 19th of November, and it's going to go from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. You're always welcome to come out.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
So the poem, I wanted to get into that as well. So how do you feel about reading your son's poem or someone else reading your son's poem? Are you, I would like for people who don't have your book yet, and I encourage everybody to go out and get the book, but for those who don't have the book, I'd like to share your son's poem with them, because I think he 17 when he did this, or 18 when he wrote this? He was
15,
like 15?
15, yeah, 15.
He did this at 15 years old. So I was wondering if you can share this poem with us here on the radio station.
Sure.
Okay, I'll let you read it.
I thought you wanted to read it.
Well, I mean, I can't. I mean, if it's,
yeah, it's
you want
fine.
me to read it?
Yeah, sure,
okay,
it's
I'll
fine.
read it. Okay. So the name of this poem is My Fugacious Life by Jaquan Wright. And the poem reads, "They want to know about my life, but why should I tell? It's not like it's special or something, just upsets and hell. Thinking I fail, never prevail, just doing time alone in my cell. See, I like to write things, hoping they change, but no matter how hard I try, the result is the same. Nothing but shame. To most, it's cool, like a game. Stuck to my chain, heart filled with pain. See that I know? Ask them, no show. Freedom must go. My fugacious life." Wow, 15 years old.
Yes.
Brother was deep.
Yeah, because that was during the time where he was in juvenile.
So he was in juvenile at the time.
Juvenile, spent maybe a month or two. Nothing major, but he wrote, when he had classes in there. I mean, like I said, he was a poetry writer. It was also, I got to get the name of it, but someone actually printed it. I think it's Express Poetry. Excuse me, I just lost the train of thought of the word. But it was real touching because it was maybe 10 young men that wrote poems similar to that, just heartfelt about what they were going through.
Mhm.
And all of them are deceased.
All of them.
The thing about this is
Mhm.
that people don't understand when there's no liability, that when lights are snuffed out too early,
Mhm.
the effect that it can have on everyone.
Yes.
And it, because you're not out here seeking something for yourself, you're seeking for your son and for others that are in that position. So their light will not be snuffed out so early over
Right.
foolishness,
Mhm.
over lack of doing what they need to do for the whole. And it's sad in so many different ways, but then it brings you into a different element.
Oh, yes.
Where as a mother, as someone who is mourning, as someone who sees the bigger picture, is doing not just for herself but for others. Even though you've been in those dark nights,
Mhm.
even though you have given up sometimes and cursed
Oh, yeah.
for the fact that you lost, that you don't want to be in this position.
Mhm.
I think it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, reaching
Thank
out
you.
and explaining your story and your son's story, because we don't want to see any more lights put out too soon.
Right. I don't think John Quan would have it any other way.
Mhm.
He knows his mother as a fighter. So
Mhm.
for me to do anything less than that will be disheartening to him
Mhm.
because he knows that I'm going to fight the fight until the end. It's still an ongoing battle. I have faith. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that at my time come, this shall pass. Justice will get served. The justice did get served for the person that murdered him. And now the other person that didn't do enough, I believe justice is coming. I have hope. I believe that.
Well, it's something, because I believe that the law in some cases is for the lawless, and
Mhm.
sometimes justice and law just don't go together when they should. And for those who are responsible or had some part in it, God has his way of dealing
Oh,
with
yeah.
folk. So I would like to talk about your new normal.
Mhm.
And we might get interrupted because we have a break to go to soon, but
Okay.
we will talk about it when we come back from the break. But I want to start with that. What does your new normal look like?
Mm.
Because you talked about your new normal in the book a little bit. What does that look like for you? What does that feel like for you? Your new normal.
It feels like you're doing what God has called you to do.
Okay.
That's what I feel. I feel like as a mother, and I have said it time and time again, as a parent, your job is never done. Whether
Mhm.
your children are here or they're not here, and there's a situation that they're in or whatever that may happen to them, you still have to be a mom. You still have to do what you have to do. I could have gave up. I could have said, hey, that's it. I'm done. But it put me in a position now to be, I think, more humbling than ever, and just pretty much letting just day to day take its course. You got to remember, I was a person who went from fighting for my kids and believing in them in the school system and doing everything I needed to do for them to make sure they had food on the table and clothes on their back, to now thinking they should be at this age where they're having their own children. They've finished college. They got their own business or whatever their life is.
Right.
This is what I'm thinking 20 plus years prior. So now I'm at this position and place in my life where my life went a totally different way.
Mhm.
And for me, it's my norm is my norm, because I have to realize that this is the hand that was dealt, and I just have to deal with it. I have to figure it out day by day.
Well, I think that, my faith tells me that your son's death is not in vain, just
yeah.
like so many other senseless deaths. Yes, they are senseless. And we feel like these people should be here longer than us, right?
Right.
Because they're
Oh,
our
yeah.
children. But it's still not in vain, because someone's going to be affected in a way to where they can move forward
Mhm.
and affect change in a positive way because of their experiences. When we come back, we want to talk about where we can get in touch with you more information from you.
Okay.
We want to talk about your daughter, talk about what she's doing. Okay, so this is the Danasha Harrison Show. We'll be back right after this. Thank you for listening, and stay with us.
Yeah, Miss T.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Football, you basically have a good 10 to 12 years, and that's what it is.
When you have a lot of people retiring early, it's funny. A lot of me and my alumni from UVA, where I graduated from, one of our fellow Wahoos, he retired yesterday, 32 years old. To Shaw Ferguson, and he's been in the league like 10 or 12 years. So like you said, a lot of guys are making that change on their own now because they're seeing a lot of things from the the concussion movement,
right?
Stuff that's been happening. It's not the noun, it's the effects later, because you see different stories of men are in like their 50s and some are committing suicide because of the banging and the voices or the concussions. And
did you see that?
I haven't got a chance to see it. But
not the movie, but did you see those effects?
I have seen concussions in college where guys have played that whole entire game and didn't realize they was at a football game.
Wow.
But like before the big emphasis came about whole concussions and what's going on, we was taught you just run to the wall. You can't be soft. You shake it off and get back in it. So
the wrong attitude to have.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really internal. Like you really doing damage, not just to your bones,
right,
but to your mind.
Everything. Right. And later on down the line, because just like you said, once the game is over, when you've been in a game and you think about it, because I tell people the NFL, any sports, whether it's male or female, is a semi-military, because you're told when to get up, when to work out, what to eat, when to play. All right, now you got a curfew, you got to be in the bed by this time. You do it for years and years, and all of a sudden, bam, it's done. So what do you do?
Right.
So just like in a military to have with PTSD, we have that because we so used to having a certain way. And I remember watching this Brian Gumbel on HBO, it was like years ago, and a guy would act like he was getting dressed, a real good football player, would walk his daughter to the bus stop, and he would come back in the house, close the curtains, and just sit there because he didn't know how else to handle himself, because he was so used to being told what to do, because our schedule are laid out. By this time, you got to do this. By this time, you got to do this. Eat at this time, back on the field. So,
hey, what's up? This is Nate, host of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Tune in every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live, here live on BeExposedRadio.com.
Another family as well.
And helping another family as well. Welcome back to the show. They heard that when you were saying that.
Oh.
So that I think is great because we're talking about helping families. You're back on the Danasha Harrison Show. This is wrapping up the show shortly. But before we do wrap up the show, you still have a chance to call in at 410-702-5657. You can also text us at 443-642-9403. Don't forget we have an open house, BXR open house, Saturday, November 19th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And also Bianca's Playhouse premiere is Saturday, November 12th at 7 p.m. So use the Be Exposed Radio Facebook Live as well. That's available for you. So we still got a little time. If you want to call in or you want to follow us, please feel free to do so. If you missed the show, or you know someone that usually listens to the show but missed the show, then tell them to go into YouTube. They can catch the show. Just go to YouTube, the Danasha Harrison Show, or go to BeExposedRadio.com. Catch the Danasha Harrison Show. You can also...
You forgot your name?
Yeah, I stumble sometimes. Email us at info@BeExposedRadio.com. So... before we go, once again, if you can give your information on how we can get the book, how we can get in touch with you, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up for final words.
Okay. www.tondawright.com is where you can go on and read really synopsis about the book. And you can order the book on there as well on Amazon. You can also email me at twright13@verizon.net, and you also can go to Facebook and look up Tonda, Tonda Wright, WRIGHT,
Okay.
I almost forgot how to spell my last name.
So it happens sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
Any save rounds, as we would say? Any questions that you want to ask before we wrap
No,
up?
she pretty much hit so much.
Okay.
And, you know, as a mother myself, I cannot say I know what it feels like.
Right.
But I can empathize with the fact that if anything ever happened to my child, would I be as strong as you are? Would I fight as hard as you have and continue to do? And it's a testament to your love and your motherhood and the fact that you are a person that's built for service and you continue that fight despite all the pitfalls and walls that are being built around you, and your faith has sustained you this long and this hard. It's a beautiful thing to watch a mother's love in action.
That's right.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
absolutely.
it. Yeah,
So-
it's whew. It ain't easy, but
Sure.
it can be done.
Absolutely, it's being
It can be
done.
done. It
And
can be done.
It's being
yes,
done.
it can. No matter what, like you said, the walls that are built around you. No matter the no's. I had a whole lot of no's.
Sure.
It's
you're
not
gonna
going to be able to
continue
do
to
it.
have a lot of
It's not
no's.
going to happen. How this? But I did a lot of research myself. I put, like I said, talk about in my book. I went on detective mode because you got to remember, I've been out here for a long time in these streets, operating as a healthcare provider. So a lot of stuff I knew just didn't add up. And when you know your children and you know the history of your children, like I said, he was 18 with no medical positions. I knew the position of what we supposed to do when we arrive on the scene of an emergency call. Some things just wasn't adding up. And then the sergeant, she came to me and she told me that she felt like something wasn't right. But I think what and I don't know if I think, yeah, I did talk about it a little bit in the book. When I went to have to get him prepared for service, and I called, and I wanted to know, was it going to be a closed casket? And the undertaker said, you know, no, he looks just like you, like he's sleeping, you know. And then that's when he told me the 2 shots, you know, at the top, and then the one in the leg broke the leg. And again, I'm preparing for the funeral, but I'm still in the back of my mind thinking,
Detective mode.
Like, get shot in the head.
Wait a minute. You know, it had to really hit me like, hold on, what did you just say? I'm thinking, okay, he was so messed up
Right.
that they didn't have no choice but to leave him. This
Right.
is what I'm thinking before anything else came out. And then when he told me that over the phone, I didn't know what I was going to prepare myself to. He said, Miss Wright, it's just like he's sleeping. He looks just like you. And when I got there and I realized that gut feeling again, something's just not right. And I just kept fighting. And I know the medical director, when the medical examiner, when I went to sit and talk to her, and I was popping off questions left and right because I knew anatomy and physiology and the chemistry and everything else. And she said, you know, he was just such a young child.
Right. So let me ask you, is there any way that we can get you to come back on the show?
Sure.
To continue this?
Sure.
2 hours wasn't enough time. And 2 more hours won't be enough time, but we really do appreciate you.
Well, thank
number
you for
one,
having
sharing
me.
your story, breaking the book down. And we covered a lot. And I
Yes.
think that there's a lot of things that we should focus on after the show. We're going to get more specific on what we can focus on in the DC area to help yourself and others
Yes.
who unfortunately have found themselves in this position. But thank you for joining us on the Denasha Harrison Show. I feel very, very blessed that you've allowed the listeners to hear your story. And I do hope that you come on and share your story. There was one guest, I've had them on like 3-4 times because it's working with the youth, you know. So that's a passion. I think that deserves this type of platform. I always say it's not my radio show. It's your show.
Right.
You know, it's everyone's show that's listening. If they want to try to affect positive change, some type of way, this is their platform to do it. Because we're going to give them the space and the opportunity to do so. So thank you very much for sharing your story.
I appreciate it. I appreciate
absolutely.
you having me.
Oh, absolutely.
And shout out to Lim.
Okay.
That
yeah,
put it
Mr. Howard,
together.
the educated wino.
The one that, you know,
Right.
if you need to call and want to get tipsy.
Absolutely, absolutely. We giving Lim a
Original
plug.
tipsy bartender.
Right.
On
So-
wheels.
On wheels.
But, yeah. So shout out to Lim and everybody like him who's putting things together behind the scenes. You know, not asking for any accolades. He doesn't want anything. He just wanted to
just be a good friend.
To do what he does, which he's a wonderful connector, right?
Yeah.
So he made this connection, and I'm humbled and I'm grateful that he did so. So please find it in your schedule to come out.
Appreciate it.
To the show again, to continue to share your story, and we want to hear the progress of your case, the progress of the moves that we're going to make on this law moving forward.
Yes, and other books that you're going to write.
Absolutely, other projects.
Yeah,
so,
book 2 is coming in.
Yeah, we want to see
I don't know if y'all can take book
Life,
2.
volume 2. Much thicker. Wow. But thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing with us, Tru Black. Thank you for coming to the studio again. Right. So. You're listening to the Denasha Harrison Show. Once again, we have sponsorship opportunities available for you. We're on BeExposedRadio.com. You can go to Facebook, Be Exposed Radio, Facebook Live, the Denasha Harrison Show on Facebook, or just go to Denasha Harrison and find out what's going on. So we have a wonderful show coming up next Thursday from 8 to 10. Tune in, watch Facebook. You'll see what's coming up. It's going to be a wonderful show. I don't know if it's going to be as good as this one was, because this was a wonderful show. But thank you for coming in. And for all of you that are listening, please be safe and always do the right thing. And thank you for joining us on the Denasha Harrison Show. And we'll see you next Thursday. All right.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Let me give you the information.
Free stuff for you just for listening to this station. Yo, we got your attention? Here's how it works. You click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for cool stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple. Free stuff just for doing what you already do. Radio Loyalty. Click the banner to join now. Join the club that gives you stuff. Hey, thanks! Radio Loyalty.